Welcome to Candid Catholic Convos, a program brought to you by the Catholic Diocese of Harrisburg. Our mission is to humanize the Church and help you to grow in your faith, love, and understanding. I'm your host, Rachel Trochet, a cradle Catholic who's only human and struggled with faith on more than one occasion. Each week, you'll hear engaging, down-to-earth interviews and actionable strategies you can implement into your life with ease to help you grow closer to God. If you're ready to open your heart and step fully into the person God created you to be, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey, it's Rachel. Just wanted to let you know that we are taking a short summer breather this August. So today's episode is a favorite from our archives, but don't hit skip just yet, because starting in September, we're rolling out a brand new format designed just for you. Whether you're deep in your faith, just coming back, or still searching, we're talking fresh voices, powerful stories, saint spotlights, and practical conversations that meet you wherever you are on your journey. So while we revisit some meaningful past episodes this month, know that something exciting, thoughtful, and mission-driven is just around the corner. Be sure to follow or subscribe, and if you love the show, share it with someone who could use a little hope in their feed. Today's Encore episode is with Dr. Kirsten Tollefson and her work with the new Labre Mental Health Clinic. We talked about the inspiration behind this important mission, the challenges of launching a clinic rooted in both clinical excellence and gospel values, and how this work is already making a difference right here in Harrisburg. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Candid Catholic Convos. The other day, as we were leaving a shopping center, my kids witnessed someone on the corner with a sign that read, "Homeless, anything helps." They innocently asked what happened to that person, why don't they have a home, and how we could help. As best as I could, I explained that there's lots of reasons that someone might not have a home, and as much as I wanted to help tangibly in that moment, I unfortunately didn't have any cash, so I suggested we say a prayer for them instead. They agreed, and we said a little prayer, and then my 7-year-old asked, what would happen if we lost our house? It's funny the amount of things we take for granted every day. The fact that we have indoor plumbing, or running water, or warm clothes, or a roof over our heads. Things that seem so basic, and yet so integral to living life, that we sometimes forget they're actually privileges. Homelessness in Pennsylvania alone rose 12.2% over the last year, according to the annual Homelessness Assessment Report. And on any given day, over 12,000 Pennsylvanians are known to be homeless across the Commonwealth. 20 to 25% of the homeless population across the U.S. also struggle with mental health or substance abuse issues. When I read those statistics, I was instantly reminded of sitting in the car with my kids, wondering how we could help. So this week, we're shining a light on a powerful new ministry in the Diocese of Harrisburg, one that blends compassion, mental health care, and the Catholic call to serve the most vulnerable among us. Named after St. Benedict Joseph Labre, the patron saint of homelessness, Catholic Charity's new Labre Mental Health Clinic offers essential mental health services and a place of dignity for those in our area experiencing homelessness and housing insecurity. I'm honored to welcome to the show Program and Medical Director of the Labre Mental Health Clinic, Dr. Kirsten Tollefson. Dr. Tollefson shares the inspiration behind this mission, the challenges of launching a clinic rooted in both clinical excellence and gospel values, and how this work is already making a difference right here in Harrisburg. Kirsten, welcome to Candid Catholic Convos. I'm really excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining me and chatting about this new initiative with Catholic Charities.
Well, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Truly an honor, and I'm excited to talk about the work that we're doing.
It's wonderful. It's such a, I feel like we should be shouting it from the rooftops, and it doesn't get as much attention as it deserves. So this is a really exciting episode for me. Like I'm super jazzed that you're here. So tell me a little bit about yourself and your role with the Labre Mental Health Clinic.
Okay. So I'm a psychiatrist. I'm a physician, and I am both the program and the medical director with Labre, for Labre. What that means is, in my role as program director, which is the primary role here, I am spreading the word about Labre, doing a lot of engagement with potential clients, and helping to develop the clinic accordingly, helping to develop our services to match our mission and match the needs as we discover them.
That's really cool. And this is such a new initiative. Tell me a little bit about what got you personally inspired to get involved in this work. And how do you find hope and motivation when faced with the challenges of those who are housing insecure?
When I look at psychiatry, I've worked with many different populations, right? And enjoyed working with full range of people, right? And a full range of individual struggles. But I've always felt a pretty clear call to work with people who are poor, and in many cases, people who have a serious mental illness. Hard to say why God implanted that in my heart, but it's there and I love it. What brought me to this project, so I had actually reached out to Catholic Charities because the mission of Catholic Charities and the way they are pursuing that mission right now is beautiful. And working for the Catholic Church became very important to me. So I reached out to them and heard about this project of the Labre Clinic. And when I look at what we're working towards doing, to me, it answers a lot of the needs that we have and the barriers that are the disconnect, the reason why it's hard for people to have good mental health care and really to take care of their mental health in general. So
it's something that we kind of forget as like being well overall. I think people think when they think of being well, they think particularly in physical health, but you need to have your mental health in check as well as like your spiritual health. And I love what you said about how God put this on your heart. One of my favorite quotes from St. Catherine of Siena is, "Be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire."
Yes.
And that's it's such a good quote. And that's when you said that, I was like, oh, she's on fire right now. That's what this is. This is awesome. So we've talked a little bit about, who the Labre Clinic serves, but talk to me about the Labre Mental Health Clinic as a whole. What's the mission? What are the specific needs that you aim to address for those experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity?
We are a mental health clinic. In our case, what that means is our clinic is designed to address that gap that we find between somebody who's starting to experience mental health concerns or stress and emotional distress that could lead to mental health, diagnoses. One of the barriers between that state and getting to outpatient psychotherapy, outpatient psychiatry, is the difficulties with accessing it. Huge range of reasons why that's hard. That range from hospitality, maybe not feeling comfortable and welcome to make that leap. Difficulty with having, a functioning phone, right? Difficulty making an appointment and getting there because that day somebody may have to focus on getting the food, making sure that they're there during the drop-off of the food boxes. So we are a low barrier access point for mental health treatment. We're also a place where people can come in and don't have to make that commitment to mental health treatment. So our mission is to provide a place where people can start that journey, can start talking about their mental health, can get information, and can begin to see options, to get help making those phone calls, to set up an appointment so that when they're sitting on hold for 20 minutes trying to schedule that intake, they have someone there talking to them, distracting them, and taking the edge off that experience.
I love what you said about how it's a great starting place because just being able to take that leap, you're right. It's a big jump for some people. I mean, even just not to pigeonhole men in any sort of way, but I know men in particular have a harder time admitting that they need help. And it's I think for anyone in general, just thinking that, you know, "Oh, I can't believe I have to ask for help," or "Oh, I don't want to do this because," you know, like you mentioned, even just making the appointment phone call, I'm like, do I have to? Can I just have my mom do it? Like, it's such a hard thing for some people.
For most.
Yes. And it still continues to be a thing. I'm like, oh, I don't want to I have to do this. But when you drop some of those barriers, it makes it that much more accessible. And I think that is so important, especially for those with housing insecurity or food insecurity or financial insecurity. And I think that's a wonderful thing to now have in our community. So from the Catholic Church's perspective, talk to me a little bit about how Catholic social teaching informs the Church's stance on homelessness, and why is it so important that we address this issue from a faith perspective?
The most essential issue for me in why I want to address this as a Catholic in a Catholic organization is that our focus is on the essential dignity of the human being. And first of all, that's how you don't get burned out as a psychiatrist. You look at someone and you try to see that essential dignity. And that's why it's essential in working with people who are homeless, who are facing serious adversity, because often they have lost hope. And when you can, by your manner and by your words, but most importantly by your manner and your approach, reaffirm over and over their essential dignity, then that person can begin to open up. And secondly, being able to do it in a community, being able to do it on the ground and locally, that principle of subsidiarity is also important because people who are homeless are part of our larger community. And we also face the challenge of the discomfort with those who first are different from us, but also who have needs that we may not be able to address. And it's very hard when you can't solve that problem. You can't solve what they're struggling with. And so that's why it's important to work at the community level to make it more comfortable for us as a community to help people.
I love that especially when you mention like we can't fix it. Like I'm such a type A personality and that I'm like, you tell me something's broken, I immediately want to fix it. But in certain instances, like I don't have the capacity or the resources to be able to do that. And I love that the Labre Clinic is kind of creating that community and leaning on that community, especially within the church, because like you said, we respect the dignity of the whole human person, like regardless of what their background is or what their history is or where they're currently at in life. They are deserving of the respect and the attention that God gives to us. And I think that is such an important reminder. How does this kind of shape our efforts when we combat homelessness, especially in the Harrisburg area?
Oh, there's a complex issue. There's a lot there. One of them is that there are many factors that go into homelessness. And there are many different reasons why someone becomes homeless. Okay. One of the things is being open to hearing that someone is housing insecure and looking at what we can do to help them. The second is when we have somebody who's been homeless chronically, creating an environment where they can start to consider taking the steps necessary to become housed. Because all of this is harder than I realized. I saw that there was a lot to having housing, right? Helping people who are losing their housing. What I didn't see was that there is a challenge with people who are chronically homeless. There's a challenge for them to come back into being housed for a number of reasons. It's so complex. And I'm just at the beginning of learning about so many of these things. A lot of it, when we look at homelessness, is going, okay, what is going on in this moment and how can we help to restore that person's ability to become housed? So if it's that they simply have no access to housing, they can't afford housing, There are ways to help people with that. But those ways are different when the person is afraid to be housed, is afraid to take the step of going into a different community when currently they're surrounded by other people in the same circumstance. And it's different that when we have someone who has the voucher, a HUD voucher, or a rapid rehousing voucher, and can't find anywhere that they can use that voucher. So we have all these different challenges. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
No, I think you are. It's such a layered issue. I mean, and when you talked about those who have been chronically homeless, my first thought was, what about somebody who doesn't want to go back to that community, to a housed community, whether it's out of fear or out of just feeling like I'm never going to get to that place, or I'm too comfortable where I am right now that I don't see it as a problem. Do you come across clients like that who like you mentioned, that being one of the many layers that go into this housing crisis, or this homelessness crisis, I should say? Because I think the housing crisis kind of plays into a little bit with there just not being enough availability for everybody.
So now it's both. There are people in every group who become homeless for many, many different reasons. But yes, I have come across a number of people who have found such comfort in being around others who are homeless, who have made it work in a sense enough that becoming housed is frightening to them. Or when they're weighing, because everything is really a cost benefit when we're trying to work with someone. And when we see a decision that is adversely affecting their health, they may not see that. And when we have someone who's had a lot of trauma, it may be that they associate being housed with the trauma, or that they associate being housed with needing to be separated from their community, and often the places where they would be housed are far away. There are other things, other lifestyle things that they would have to change that can be very difficult with them. And I've heard it said that after a certain amount of time living in an encampment or a setting where others are there longer term, there's a change in how someone views it, and there's almost a numbing to the circumstances. And so that, I think, makes it harder for that person to see the downsides in real time, and to see the effects that it's having on them, and to see the benefits of becoming housed.
Kind of reminds me of that Pink Floyd song where you get comfortably numb. But it's and not to make light of the situation, but it's true. I mean, I think about that with anything in life, is that when you get used to being a certain way, you get comfortable in that position, and having to step outside of that comfort zone is almost terrifying to realize, that now everything is going to change. For instance, my husband is, he's in the Army National Guard. And when he was deployed in 2020, when he came home, like, he had gotten used to, like, there was an initial culture shock when he deployed and got over there. But then you get used to how everything is done. You get used to meals are at this time and this time and this time. And here's where you have to go, and here's what you have to wear. And then you come home, and all of a sudden there's no schedule anymore. There's nothing. And it's a real shock to the system. And I imagine it's similar for those who have faced chronic homelessness. They're like, what do you mean now I have options? What do you mean now this is available to me? It's got to be like a mind blowing in a sense. And I'm excited that the Labre Clinic and Catholic Charities are now here to kind of help bridge that gap. Okay, maybe you're not ready yet, but we're here when you're ready to chat, or we're here to help you kind of get started to make that jump a little less painful, a little less shocking.
So in a sense, what we're there to do is to support mental health, right? And while the other organizations in the city are doing the actual homeless outreach, we are there solely focused on mental health with clear awareness of the other issues. And focus on mental health is, for me, a matter of looking at somebody and saying, what can I do to help you get back to yourself, or get to that self that and that identity that God made for you, right? So that you are then freely making these decisions. There are others who I can point you in their direction, who will present more options, right? But let me meet you where you are and help you clarify what will help clear the way for you to do these things.
I love that. Meet you where you are. I think that is so important, because you're not asking more or less of somebody. You're asking for where they are presently. And that's such a huge, that makes such a huge impact, I'm sure.
I think, though, the other thing I always have to say with that is that people are often stronger than they seem.
Exactly.
And so meeting someone where they are is usually a matter of coming to them and recognizing where their strength is, where their point of resilience is, and building on that, and helping them to see where some of the where there might be things that aren't so clear, where there might be areas where they don't feel so free.
Yes, exactly. It's like, okay, you might not feel this way, but you can, then you can start, once you recognize where they are, then you can start to push or pull or get help them get to where they need to be, to discover that resilience, like you said. I think that is so important. Now, I know the Labre Clinic is somewhat new. It's only been around for a year or two. Is that correct?
Goodness, no.
No?
We opened our doors in August.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So
just barely a year, not even a year yet.
Nope.
That's incredible. So we haven't had a whole lot of, I guess, case studies, if you could say, but how would you anticipate that the Labre Clinic is going to improve the lives of those facing homelessness, possibly coupled with mental health challenges? What kind of outcomes are you hoping to see with this?
So I'm hoping that people first will be able to seek the treatment that they're looking for and to reconnect with their providers when they are seeking mental health treatment. I'm hoping that we also will be a place where someone can come and talk about their mental health, right? So, and consider whether or not they want treatment. And we're hoping to be a place where someone can come and just talk about what's going on and not have to worry about how it's going to be perceived. Because not everybody even needs mental health treatment, right? Some people just need a place to talk before it becomes a mental health diagnosis. It's the kind of emotional distress phase. So I'm hoping that we can become a place where people are comfortable being open about their journey, and that we can also be a place where people can get more information on next steps to take. Now, so finding the starting place for the person is key, because often people are like, well, I know I need to do this, and this, and that's a lot. None of us do well with that.
It's intimidating to be like, I think it was Martin Luther King who said to focus on the first step, not the whole staircase. And I find so often we're like looking at the staircase, like, how am I going to get up? Like the rocky steps, like how am I going to get all the way up there? But if you just start with the first step and then you take the next step and then the next step, it becomes less intimidating. And I love that you're working to make these sort of bite-sized goals that are easy to digest, and then connecting with other resources for those next steps. I think that is such a great way to, again, make it accessible to anyone wherever they're at. I think that that's amazing. So what would you envision as like long-term goals, especially for the Harrisburg area? What are the Labre Clinic's like 5-year goals in terms of like what are we hoping to achieve?
So we have a mobile clinic.
Oh, nice.
So we just got the unit to do this. Very exciting. And we're still working on the medical license for, or the not medical, the license, the appropriate clinic license to be added. But what we're hoping to do is first reach out to people in the further reaches of the county and provide this, right? Provide this welcoming space. And second, to utilize this also closer to us to help people maybe consider coming to our clinic. 5-year, 10-year goals. So this is a work in progress. The question is, what parts of this do we scale up? And what parts of this turn out not to be what we scale up, right? And what's the capacity, right? So that's in development. But the idea is to create something in a sustainable model that is meeting a clear need in an area where there is that need. Because when we look at the spectrum of mental health services, there are shortages in every part of that spectrum, right? But there are other groups addressing parts of that spectrum. And we have one area that we're focused on for now that we want to make sure that we're reaching out to, that we're creating that hospitable space, and that we're normalizing the need for a gradual journey. And hoping that even though we're serving those who are homeless, those who are housing insecure, that understanding of the need for that may spread to others, because I think most people need support in connecting with mental health services, and a lot of people really do need someone to talk to, just to be able to not worry about saying that they're depressed or anxious.
We've unfortunately run out of time, but if you'd like to hear the rest of this episode, you can listen to us anytime on Spotify under Candid Catholic Convos, or you can download this episode from our website at hbgdiocese.org. Thank you so much for listening. Our goal at the Diocese of Harrisburg is to walk with you on your faith journey. So if this episode resonated with you in any way, the easiest way to show your appreciation is by sharing this program with your network or by leaving a review on your listening platform. You can also support us financially by making a donation online at hbgdiocese.org/DAC and clicking the Make a Donation button. Thanks again, and we'll see you at church on Sunday.